For the last 3 years, I've been betting like a professional. Arbing, hunting promos, plus EV, spreadsheet after spreadsheet, searching for edges, glitches, any way to make money. It was income. I knew it wouldn't last forever, and when limits hit my accounts, the juice was no longer worth the squeeze. Coupled with having a family and spending more time creating content, my drive and motivation to bet professionally, find edges, and get accounts became less prominent. And yet, I still catch myself betting like it's my job. When I place a bet, I do so with the hopes of making money. Because for most of my betting career, that's exactly what I was doing. Couple that habit with the overwhelming presence of online bettors dying to tell you how much money they make, well, it becomes pretty easy to start thinking about this industry strictly from a profit and loss standpoint. Well, duh, GMG, that's why we do it, to make money, right? You can, don't get me wrong. You can plus EV bet, promo hunt, and arb your way to thousands of dollars. And your accounts will get limited. I have no interest in getting accounts and continuing this professional journey. I have more interest in making content like this, that I think matters. The purpose of this video is to turn the traditional ideas of unit size and bankroll management on their heads. These are essential foundational ideas within the positive expected value community, the sharps, the math-minded long-term winners, the pros. But they say that only 3% of people win long-term anyway. So I guess this video is for the other 97%. In some ways, I've moved from a bettor who uses bets to make money to a creator who uses bets to make content, only there was no ideological shift that occurred. At my core, I feel like an informed bettor who understands the industry, who knows what it takes to be profitable from a top-down perspective anyway, but doesn't have the time, energy, accounts, or risk tolerance to do so. If my accounts were unlimited, I'd arb all day long. I would make money sports betting. But I refuse to ask my cousin's college roommate for their bank account info and social security number. Let me sum it up in one sentence. I know how to win money sports betting, but because of my limited accounts and disinterest in finding new accounts, I can no longer guarantee that the bets I place will lead to a positive ROI. However, I still place bets and view them as financial decisions from an EV lens, and in some ways, my identity as a creator depends on them. Now, why is that? Because winning matters, money matters. The accounts with the largest pickets at the end of the month are the winners, not just from an ROI standpoint, but from a creator and respect standpoint. Respect in this industry is directly correlated to your ROI. It's almost like there are good guys and bad guys, sharps and squares, pros and joes. You either understand how the market works and win because of it, or you're an idiot.
Why would anybody bet for fun? If you don't have an edge, you'll lose money long term. The only way to win is by having a large sample of plus EV bets. Those who bet for fun are losers, suckers, degenerates.
While I was writing that last line, Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears and Fears came on. I don't typically listen to music, but for some reason today I was. I've heard this song all my life, but never really bothered to think about it. So after pausing this script, listening to the song intentionally, and actually reading along with Lyric Genius, I realized this song is the thesis. So if you'll give me some time, I'd like to explain how this video isn't even completely about bankroll or units. It's about your betting identity. Here's mine. This song is a commentary on our desire for control. We all want to rule in some way. If I'm not in control, things might happen to me. Our or my wanting to be in charge also ties me to expectations, pressure, and most importantly, failure. I used to rule the world in betting terms. I had odds jam. Yeah, I know, I had odds jam. I had a game-to-game tennis edge, a double-double, triple-double edge, a live touchdown edge. I had player ones and player twos. Books were softer, and I had outs, period. Most importantly, I had a consistent monthly profit on the back of arbs and plus EV bets. As a creator, this was plus EV. I had time to create content I enjoyed outside of the time I spent betting. I suppose I could have spent more time helping with the family, but since my wife wasn't working, I was able to mark up phone time as work because, after all, it was. If I wasn't directly making content, I was on my phone making $27 risk-free because Hard Rock didn't bother to move their line after Giannis was ruled out. They're incredibly slow to NBA news. And everybody needs money to live. Actually, if there's any math people still watching, here's a simple past GMG dollar formula that describes my stages over the last 4 years. When I was teaching, I made this much money. When I was teaching and arbing, I made this much money. Once I quit teaching and was arbing and making content full-time, I made this much. Now that arbing is gone, content only pays about this much relative to the others. Content and affiliate marketing, or reading ads for Smart Stake, Picket, and Dimers, well, it's this much, which is more than content but not quite a teacher's salary. Now I know that content number isn't static like teaching is. Neither is the affiliate money. In other words, the money I make creating content can grow over time as my audience and therefore my sponsorships grow. While I'll never make what I made arbing from content, I do think replacing my teacher salary is manageable within 5 years. So if we go back to that song, I ruled the world because I was in control. I had this much money from arbing. I was sharp. I mattered. If my content sucked, who cares? I was making money. That version of me, and I think a lot of us, gives us a feeling of being in control. We all have that number that says, if I had just this much more, then I'll be content. Or if I made this much more, I could go to Disney and remodel my kitchen. Money is a double-edged sword in that way. If you don't have enough to live a dignified life, human nature is to want more, to fulfill literal needs. But what happens when you have enough? Your needs are met. Sure, you drive a 2004 Hyundai Elantra that you got for free from your grandma when she died, so you aren't living lavish, but you have more than enough. What happens when you have the money you thought would make you happy, but you still aren't satisfied with that total? Because even though your needs are met and you have exceeded what money you thought you'd ever have, you still want more. Growing up, my parents never had more than $2,000 in their savings or checking accounts. They didn't invest, they worked, they lived, we were fed and warm, but I never had an abundance, and I'm certainly not going to get a life-changing inheritance. Could my parents have been a little better with their money? Sure. But they also didn't view money and status as a reflection of their self-worth. Yet in this industry, the money you make betting is your self-worth. If you make more money, you are more credible. If you win bets, it's directly tied to your intelligence and value to society, or at least the gambling society. You're the good guy, taking money from the books that prey on the people. Hooray, how admirable. And your value as a person increases as the green line on your picket does. Creating content in this industry hangs on this idea. It's not worth watching unless it's winning. Why watch someone who loses? Why bet something with no edge? Why tail a guy who can't say he's positive? There are two types of people in the betting content industry. People who win and people who lie. How many gambling creators can you find who show a losing P&L consistently, season over season, that also have thousands of views per video? Yet how many long-term winners are actually giving out plays for free on YouTube, without a tool, without a subscription, just dudes knowing ball and giving back, and winning thousands? How can I create content that pays me a salary and pays others a salary too? How can I be respected in a community if I don't win? Where's the line between betting for fun and betting to make money? These are questions I've asked myself recently. Because now that I'm not making consistent money from sports betting, my risk tolerance is shrinking. I feel less sharp, less respected, and lost, even though nothing changed about my actual knowledge. I didn't become a worse sports bettor. I became limited. My knowledge and worth that's tied to my bankroll shouldn't have diminished. I only got limited. My new worth will depend on my ability or interest in getting accounts, finding outs, getting down, as will my credibility as a sports betting creator. Because I can't win on my own. Or can I? All three NFL categories this season are positive. I'm beating money lines, totals, player props, and touchdowns. When I sit down each week and focus, study, make bets based on bottom-up origination, but also not overthinking it, having fun because I'm risking only $10 per straight and $2 for long shot TDs, I've had success. Sure, sharps and pros will say, yeah, but that's not a full season. Small sample size. You're getting lucky. I'm going to guess someone would be considered sharp and respected if they can do it over the course of 3 seasons, but I'm sure that could also be debated. Thousands of samples needed, I'd imagine. So which is it? Is it money that matters in this industry, both as a creator and a gambler, or is it knowledge? Knowledge allowed me to make money, but when I got limited, I lost no knowledge. But I did lose my ROI, so a long-term, large winning, consistent plus EV bettor who is betting strictly top-down is able to do so not by knowledge alone, but by resources. Time, access to a bankroll, accounts, new edges that they'll never share, connections to people within the industry, and accounts. Their knowledge of the game may be the same as mine and yours, but their resources are far greater. I'm caught between 3 versions of myself. My pro gambler identity that wants control, EV edges, consistency, profit, money, respect, credibility. The GMG identity that loves storytelling, community, engagement, laughter, entertainment, and hope in an industry that is either hopeless or likely identifies as a pro gambler. And the human identity that wants peace, family time, less pressure, not stressed about making more because it's directly tied to my self-worth and standard of living. These 3 identities are pulling in different directions at various strengths. None of them are currently ruling my world, but I think maybe that's the point of the song. I can't go back to my arbitrage era. I'm not getting new accounts just to be limited again. I'm not getting 5 iPhone 11s and Cricket Wireless. Networking for accounts is not my thing. I also can't undo content growth in a niche focused on gambling. I can't unknow the EV world and experience of being a sharp bettor. My sharp bettor brain still permeates into my content. If I place a bet, the analytical brain goes, yeah, but what's the edge? I don't think I'm addicted to betting, but I do think I'm addicted to being correct, being profitable, being respected. I have built my identity around winning, for good reason probably, but in some ways I think I may need to give myself permission to stop trying to rule the world, which is layered and complicated, but I'll try to explain what I want in broad concepts and then we can work forward to actualizing it. Getting it to the window, as they say. I want controlled entertainment. I want predictable content that people watch and enjoy. I want a stable identity, a healthier emotional bankroll, and a role that doesn't require constantly trying to prove how sharp I am. But the pro gambler identity is still shouting, if you're not winning each month, showing your picket and vaguely alluding to some secret edge or doing 1 million in volume on Kalshi, well then you're not credible. You're not worth listening to. Credibility, desire to be respected, rule the world. My new path, and the one I enjoy most of all, is the creator, the entertainer, the teacher, the bring awareness to this stuff guy. Less about ruling and more about reality and things that matter from a human identity. But if you aren't winning, marketing is hard. Credibility is hard. Trust is hard. Hey, did you watch GMG's home run picks? Heck no, that guy loses me so much money. Why would I watch him? Which is funny, because view-wise, my best content was when I was losing, when I had no edge. I provided information, charts, but none of it was useful, clearly. I lost 10 units and decided to stop betting. In fact, I stopped tracking overall because I stopped playing overall. Of course, I was honest about it and communicated it in each video, but people still watched. There's far too many variables to consider if we want to know why people still watched. Was it the charts, the consistency, the suggestions, the random stories I'd tell at the beginning, the fact that home runs are a fun, degenerate market? Too many variables. So one variable I'm going to set out to keep constant is losing. I want to create content that actively shows losing, or at least is okay with that possibility. If you can't bet for fun and win money, as the sharps say, a bet with no edge is a losing bet. And if 97% of people don't make money long-term doing this anyway, then I'll be the creator who shows what that's like. I am creating too much content that focuses on trying to win. I'm getting frustrated. My emotional bankroll is depleting with the losses because I'm betting with the intent of making money, like I conditioned myself to do for 3 years. Sunday, I placed some wagers on DraftKings Pick 6 as part of a promotion. 30% boost, max bet of $50. I got 3 of them. All 3 were 2-leg player parlays. And I had an edge, period. My bettor brain was saying max the edge because my bankroll can support it. My mathematical, technical bankroll can support it. But my emotional bankroll says, you just lost $150 only because you wanted to win, not because you wanted to have fun or be entertained or make the games more exciting. Because I'll tell you, losing $150 was not fun. As I transitioned from pro gambler to GMG and human, one thing didn't transition. My desire to be right, to win, to make as much money as possible. What's 1% of your bankroll? What's quarter Kelly? Determine your edge and bet accordingly. That only works if you have resources. If you're doing this for entertainment, the question becomes, what amount can I lose and genuinely feel nothing? Or better yet, feel like the cost of entertainment was worth it. Now, this question caused me about a 2-hour run-in with ChatGPT as I tried to come up with an exact formula for determining bet size based on risk tolerance and entertainment value, giving it parameters like max bet size, max loss each day, max loss in a year, implied probability of the bets, and I tried to build an emotional bankroll calculator. This is likely something I'll revisit when I have more time, but I can sum it up with this lesson. I've been overbetting to try to win more and prove my worth, prove my credibility, and it's not been fun. I've not lost more than I can afford to lose financially. My bank accounts are not in a dangerous spot because of it. The logistics of these bets are not the issue. It's the human connection attached to them. If something is supposed to be entertainment but stresses you out, why are you actively paying money to feel worse? Well, because you're used to winning money from your days as a pro. And now you think the value of your content is based solely on the profit of your bets. So how can I make content for the 97% of people that are going to lose long term while making sure it doesn't impact my emotions, confidence, or day? And how can I encourage the 97% to think about it in the same way? I need some parameters on my emotional bankroll. And maybe the ChatGPT angle was feeding too much into the pro-bettor lifestyle anyway, trying to calculate what can't exactly be calculated, trying to math my way out of an emotional concept. Pushing math, edges, units, and ROI works if you're actually making a living betting. The question can't be, what's 1% of my bankroll? The question is, what amount can I lose and feel nothing? This ideology directly contradicts social media, where I'm attempting to grow, where the content sphere exists, online, Social media shows huge tickets, massive payouts, and assigns a stigma to the $5 bettors as lacking knowledge. I would argue that most people don't have the emotional tolerance, the time, or the resources to risk 4 and 5 figures a day. But that's what we see. That's gambling content. The online gambling industry says scale makes you sharp. If you aren't betting bigger and winning more, why should I listen to you? And if your scale is small and you're betting for fun only, then I won't even consider tuning in. It's a waste of time. I have to stop pretending the goal is profit. The goal is creating good content and having fun. After all, that's what I enjoy most anyway. So some practical takeaways that I'm considering as I move forward. Pick a unit size based on emotion, not bankroll or edge. Consider daily average losses and max daily losses. If losses change your mood, figure out why and lower your stakes. If I wanted to actually be profitable, I'd have to get accounts and go back to arbing and plus EV betting. I don't have the time, energy, or interest in that. You may have those resources and that interest. Squeeze the juice if the pros outweigh the cons. Betting for fun is not a character flaw. Overbetting or trying to assign your self-worth, both as a creator and a human, to the dollar, well, that's a different story. What happens if I totally eliminate the thrill of winning a lot, or at least put parameters on it? What happens if a creator shifts the framework of this industry and says, being a sharp bettor is about resources and risk tolerance, not necessarily about knowledge or worth as a human? Sports betting is safest when it doesn't have a negative impact on your finances or well-being. Remember when I called the sharps the good guys? Taking down Vegas one bet at a time? They also create the illusion that you can not only win, but win lots. Pretty enticing for men stuck in the everyday corporate rat race. I'm here to tell you, it's the same rats, just a different maze.